Welcome back, everyone, to Azimuth Podcast. Have you heard that the mayor of Chicago is proposing opening a government-owned grocery store? Is this a good idea? My name is Kimberly McNabb.
And I'm Barrett McNabb. Several big-name grocery stores, including Whole Foods and Walmart, have closed their stores in these underserved areas. 6 closed in the last year, citing profitability, challenges rising to shoplifting concerns, and the departure of these grocery stores exacerbates the problem of lack of access to fresh foods, especially in the south and west sides of the city.
Mayor Johnson stated all Chicagoans deserve to live near convenient, affordable, healthy grocery options, with supporters stating that these food access issues are closely tied to environmental and racial justice, with higher levels of food insecurity among Black and Latin residents. So making sure all people have access to healthy foods sounds noble, right?
Well, with Chicago being such a populous area to serve, one has to ask, why wouldn't these stores want to sell to so many people? It's not because grocery stores are money hungry or racist. It's because they have removed the company's ability to pay the location's bills. Critics state that the city is not doing a good job with the normal responsibilities of a government, like enforcing the law as it is.
I'm sure that Chicago's city-run grocery stores would have the same service, efficiency, and quality that is to be expected from the government of a city ranked 149th in its financial stability, ranked out of 149 cities.
Right.
80th in its public safety, 129th in the quality of its economy. Yeah, let's trust a government that is serving their community oh so well, with even more trust?
Well, proponents may argue to other government-run grocery stores in small towns in the United States. In Baldwin, Florida, in 2018, the only grocery store closed. Thus, residents would have to travel a minimum of 10 miles for groceries or go to the Dollar General. Many of the residents in the town of 1,600 people were senior citizens, no longer able to drive. So the mayor proposed opening its own grocery store, abandoned by mainstream supermarkets, uninterested in the low profit margins and rural communities at Baldwin's Market. All employees on the municipal payroll, from the butcher to the cashiers. Town maintenance workers pause from cutting grass to assist with deliveries, and residents approach the mayor to request specific milk types.
The mayor clarified, "We are not aiming for profitability. We are striving to cover our expenses and sustain the store. Any surplus funds will be reinvested in the town in some manner." While Lynch was unaware of other municipality-owned grocery stores when he introduced the idea to the town council, Baldwin was not alone. A similar experiment succeeded in St. Paul, Kansas, with a city-run grocery store since 2013. David Proctor, who oversees the Rural Grocery Initiative at Kansas State University, stated that another city-owned grocery store would open in Caney, Kansas in the spring, with at least one more town in the state contemplating a similar endeavor. Many small-town grocers are approaching retirement age, and dwindling populations make it challenging for communities to attract new residents without a nearby supermarket. Consequently, Proctor emphasized that food access becomes almost like a utility that you have to have for a town to exist. Proctor added, fundamentally, you have people who have spent their entire lives in these rural communities, and they want these communities to survive.
Sure.
And they recognize that without food access, survival of the city is very uncertain.
While a collectively owned government-operated venture like the Baldwin Market inherently aligns with socialist principles, Lynch, holding a nonpartisan position, doesn't view it, though, through that lens. To him, the town is merely fulfilling its duty by providing services to residents who otherwise would bear significant tax burdens. He remarked, "We extract water from the ground, pump it to your house, and charge you. So what distinguishes a grocery store?" So, Kimberly, what would the difference be like between examples in Florida and Kansas to a potential grocery store in Chicago?
Well, the two biggest differences that I see would be the level of crime in Chicago compared to that of these communities, and the overall shared desire to keep the local communities alive. The government has made it impossible in Chicago for a business to not just make a profit, but also pay its bills. Grocery stores don't operate on a big profit margin. And people tend to think that since there in general in America, so many grocery stores with so much food, that the profit margins on grocery stores must be good. Like restaurants, it's like 30%. So people want to open up restaurants. But the profit margins are actually really small, and these stores without much theft or damage, it's still only 1 to 3% at most. And we in America do not realize just how lucky we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at those two stores that the city had to do because of a need for residents that wanted the stores there and wanted to participate in the stores versus stores closing because they're being robbed and they're being shoplifted out of existence. To me, that means that the community doesn't really want the store there.
Yeah.
I mean, or else they would limit their the crime. They would community leaders would rally and say, look, though, this has got to stop. People would give tips into the police to arrest these gangs and organized shoplifters. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, to talk about how lucky we are. So there is, in 1989, Boris Yeltsin, who replaced Gorbachev as the leader of the Soviet Union, was touring the NASA, the Johnson Space Center in Clear Lake, which is a municipality just to the southeast of Houston, Texas. And he said, "Hey, look, I want to do an impromptu stop," and so he stopped at a local grocer called Randall's. Again, this is in 1989, and was absolutely just floored. It was a 20-minute stop. He went in. It was unplanned, and he went into this grocery store, and he was just absolutely amazed at all of the produce that was available, all the fresh produce, all of the fresh fish that was available, and the meat. And apparently he was extremely fascinated with the Jell-O chocolate frozen pops inside the
the fudge
frozen
pops?
Yeah, the fudge pops.
Those
Yeah.
are awesome.
And so he was just absolutely amazed. And the store gave him some samples of things. He got to try cheese, but he seriously thought and made the comment that the United States somehow staged this, and that they had taken all of the items from all of the surrounding grocery stores and put it just in this one store to kind of show off. And we all know here in the United States that all of our grocery stores have a varied selection and often have fresh produce and things like that. And so it was absolutely amazing to him. He couldn't believe it. He thought somehow the CIA had known that he was going to stop in a grocery store and pre-packed the store. And obviously, that's not true, but still, it just goes to show you that even we had stuff that the Politburo doesn't have, that the premier of the Soviet Union at the time didn't have, that all of the wealthy people didn't have, and for us, it is available right here, right now, and especially with current just-in-time logistics, you're having food supplies from all over the world. You're getting strawberries year-round versus particular season, and so it just goes to show that it's just amazing, and I think sometimes we take it for granted.
Absolutely. We're very blessed. So now these people in Chicago who are robbing all these stores, my question is and they want to open up the government-owned grocery store, something to think about is if people have such disregard for businesses that they already feel free to steal from, do you really think their desire to pay for groceries is going to exist when the government is paying for it?
Yeah, it almost seems though that as a potential shoplifter goes in and says, wait, this one's this one's Chicago owned. No, I'm going to pass. I'm not going to steal anything from this because it's government owned versus private owned.
Absolutely. And in a city that is big as Chicago, it makes sense to not be worried about the city no longer existing, whereas in these small towns, it is easy to see that their city could no longer exist.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Now, while there's examples of government-owned grocery stores being successful, there are plenty of examples of government-owned stores not being a great service to the local populace.
Yeah, when I first heard of this government-owned grocery store idea, my knee-jerk reaction was, isn't that something they do in Russia or Venezuela?
Well, here we have a picture from NPR taken at a government-owned grocery store in Venezuela. Empty shelves like these are common in Caracas, and people are limited what they can buy, and often they have designated days. And they must get fingerprinted in order to prove their identity. And, talk about strict voting laws. How about proving your identity in order to buy groceries?
That reminds me of the toilet paper shelves during the lockdowns.
I've read responses to the news on Instagram, and they include, so the government can push lab-grown meat. So it's easier for government to ration when the next plandemic comes. That was good. Mm-hmm. And won't get in without the mark of the beast.
Whew. And that last one is not in response to the Venezuela picture either. But I would say the winner of Instagram responses belongs to Nick Freitas, a member of the Virginia House of Delegates. If you don't follow him on Instagram, I highly suggest it. He's pretty hysterical. And his response was, who wouldn't want the grocery store experience with the efficiency of the DMV? With the customer service of the IRS.
That's great. While we do have examples of government-owned grocery stores being successful, crime ruins the ability of any aspect of a successful society to flourish.
And there we have it. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all of the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.